This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Berry, and with me is Tim Parrish and Clemente Lisi. And today we're going to talk about the Sport Card Expo Toronto that took place this past weekend. We'll also talk a little bit about the upcoming Chicago Sports Spectacular, as well as a few other odds and ends in the world of collecting. So, gentlemen, how are you? Clemente, we'll start with you today. I know you and I were both at the expo, so I already know, I have a pretty good idea of how you're doing because I just saw you yesterday. But how are you doing?
Good. I'm coming down from a huge high of a big show, right? And then it kind of crashed the next day. So I'm kind of in recovery mode, but just thinking back to the weekend, it was a lot of fun.
And Tim, yourself?
I'm so good that even my mirror was asking for tips on reflecting positivity.
You are Mr. Hobby Positivity.
I'm everything positivity, man. Sun is shining, the birds are chirping. Oh, wait, no, it's nighttime. I mean, they will be at some point.
Yeah, I hate it when they chirp at like 4 a.m. I'm like, damn birds, I'm trying to sleep, like.
That's what they make BB guns for.
Just a fire warning shot.
No birds will be hurt during the making of this podcast.
Maybe a few penguins. Oh,
says you.
Kidding.
Oh, a penguin joke.
The Penguins hurt themselves. Did you see that score? 6-0 in the first quarter or the first period. That was stupid.
Are you talking about the first game they played against the Rangers this season where they lost 6-0?
No, I'm talking about the game today against Dallas. They went down 6-0 in the first period.
Damn.
2 goaltenders both gave up 3 goals.
I was going to say, Tim, don't mention the score, then Sal will make a egg joke or something.
I already did that. I did that earlier this year.
I texted my kids. I asked, has a coach ever been fired at intermission? Whatever. Anyway, I'm positive.
There you go. Yeah.
Positive.
That's good. That's good. So anyway, just real quick, I just want to mention that we have a newsletter, the Puck Junk newsletter. You can subscribe to that at puckjunk.com/newsletter. There's also a link to it in the comments. So each week we give a little recap of like just all the different things that are going on in the world of hockey collecting, because most newsletters are really focused on baseball, basketball, and Pokemon, and of course some soccer and F1, and then football, and then hockey. It's like, oh yeah, hockey, afterthought. Here's a McDavid card that is selling for a lot of money on eBay, right? And that seems to be the general consensus of these other hobby newsletters. So I started one that was just hockey, and Tim does a good job of updating the release calendar, scouring the interwebs and figuring out the different release dates for all the different sets that are coming out. Does a very good job of like keeping that as up to date as possible. And then we also look at stuff like new stuff that's come out, stuff that you could buy, stuff that you could collect, autograph appearances, or mail-in autograph opportunities. Like maybe like there's a player that you want to get an autograph from, but you're like, oh, this guy never comes to my city. But there's like a lot of like card shops around the US and Canada that will have players come in, and it'll even do mail order. And then you could like send in your things and get that signed. So, you can subscribe to that at puckjunk.com/newsletter. Fanatics. Who wants to take point on that? Because I don't know anything about this. Their new announcement that they're going to get into making yet another product.
Yeah, I got an email from Topps.com on Monday today, record day, basically saying, Fanatics is making, top loaders and other, products for your taking care of your cards. And it's interesting, it's taken them this long to do something like that, but also they're competing in a very big market that's dominated by so many other companies, including Ultra Pro. So I guess it's all part of the 10xing the hobby.
Well, we're at that point in time now. A couple years ago, we were, well, maybe a little bit longer than that. We were all saying, one day Fanatics is going to be making the cards, and then they're going to be grading the cards and selling the cards, and now they're going to be opening the cards. I mean, it's a complete end-to-end. We've said this from the beginning. any little bump in that road from point A to point Z, they're picking up and absorbing into their company. So now it's the supplies that we use. It's kind of crazy. I suppose we should have suspected this, but whatever.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, you could buy an iPhone, and of course, like iPhone makes iPhone cases, but a lot of other companies also make iPhone cases. And I think iPhone doesn't really care, or Apple, I should say, because they make the phone, right? That's the thing. They make the thing that everybody wants. And I think it's kind of silly when companies start making their own supplies or their own additional things. Like, now, what I wanted to say first, though, is that I do blog for the BCW blog. So I do, I do have a little bit of bias. I do like BCW products. I've been using them for 35 years or so. I also like Ultra Pro products. There are some things that I use that are Ultra Pro. There are some things that I use that are BCW. I think all collectors are like that, where they have like particular likes of this over that or whatever, whether it's Coke over Pepsi, but I'd rather have 7 Up instead of Sprite, or whatever. But I think that, like, if I'm making baseball cards and soccer cards and football cards and basketball cards, let somebody else mess around with the supplies, right? Like, I don't need to compete with that also, right? That marketplace is already crowded. And yes, Fanatics could probably buy Ultra Pro, or they could probably crush all the competition. But it's like, at what point, like, how many fronts do you want to be fighting on? Right? They've already acquired the other companies so that they can make stuff and, like you said, kind of do that end to end thing. And you look at like the Fanatics Fest, right? Like, do you want to do Fanatics Fest, or do you want to make penny sleeves? Like, if it was up to me, I'd rather do the Fanatics Fest, right? That's the bigger thing. But if I'm a company that makes card supplies, I make card supplies. You know what I mean? So I just think it's kind of silly. Like, oh, we're going to also make card supplies. Are they going to put Fanatics logos on them? Are they going to somehow be superior, or are they going to just be overpriced? I don't know. It's just my
You
thoughts.
made a reference to iPhone, but Apple doesn't make iPhone covers. Like they don't.
They don't. Okay.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, not that I know of. They make the technology, they make the phones, and they're happy with dominating the phone market. They're not into like, we also make these $15 covers you can put your phone in, right? They don't do that as far as I know. And so because they know their lane, and I think you're saying the same thing here about Fanatics.
Yeah, and that's just how I feel about it. Like, them having to do that also just seems silly. It'd be like the National Hockey League deciding they were going to start manufacturing skates for their players to use. It's like, why? There's already skate companies that do that, and they do a great job of that. Just concentrate on making the product that you make, which is allegedly the best hockey league in the world. I say allegedly tongue in cheek, because some people are like, oh, the NHL is so terrible. Well, okay, what's better? And they never have an answer. When they talk about how terrible the NHL is. There's one guy on Facebook, I won't mention his name because I don't want to give him any publicity, but he'll always refer to the NHL as an inferior product. And I'm like, okay, dude, what's the better product then? And he doesn't have an answer.
Inferior product as in sport, or inferior product as in for hockey?
For hockey.
What would be the superior product?
I don't know.
Big KHL fan, is he?
No. I think he's just shit posting, honestly.
Oh. Well, not to keep pounding on this one, but I guess the question that was brought up when we were talking about this first was, with all the restrictions that Fanatics puts on their dealers, you have to display things like this. You have to buy so much of this product. You have to do this. You have to do that. Are they going to force their dealers to buy this stuff to keep their allocations going? That's my question. I mean, this is new. Obviously, we've all just seen this over the last few days, so I don't know.
It's a good question. It could very well be the fact that you walk into your local LCS and you're going to see like the Fanatics display with all the products they make. It's very possible that they'll do that. So, and that's how you dominate the market then, almost by sheer force.
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, now that they're in bed with grading companies and stuff, because they're hooked up with Collect, so they're kind of sort of working with PSA, not to mention Ruben's partial ownership in the other grading company. I mean, so now what? You send stuff in to grade. Oh, sorry, this is in a
Ultra Pro.
Ultra Pro sleeve. We can't grade that. It's silly. Oh, you didn't use card armor in your shipping label. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just another thing. It's just another thing in a long line of things.
Now, I will say this. I do like when companies make custom albums for their sets. Like one of the things, and I'll get into this when we talk about the Sport Card Expo, but like when I like the Tim Hortons sets have like the custom albums, I like those. I was looking for those and I was buying those. Or like whenever like a set puts out a special binder to put that set in, I will try to buy that binder if I can and then put my set in it, and I think that's cool. I like that sort of stuff.
But you're talking about branding for a purpose, though. That's different.
Right.
To a specific product, not
Right.
we're making binders now,
Yeah. This isn't like generic, like we're just going to manufacture binders and you should buy it because all the product you're going to stick in the binder, we make too. Like all the Upper Deck binders that they make every year as part of the starter packs that you can buy in retail. Those binders that'll hold the base series 1 or the base series 2, or like you showed the Tim Hortons one, or any of the Upper Deck ones that they've made over the years, for the various events like National Hockey Card Day or things like that, where you've had something tangible, but it goes with that specific thing. I don't know, some people like their top loaders to have labels on them. I won't mention any names, and say things like from the National or rookie card or so these are going to say, are they going to say Fanatics on them or are they going to be blank? That's what I want.
They could have a little Fanatics logo. That wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
I think if it's like a promotional giveaway, that's fine. Because I've seen ones with a ComC logo. I've seen some that said Young Guns. I'm okay with that. But I mean, I wouldn't, you just kind of want to have it like not have stuff unless it says rookie card. Although, once upon a time, they used to make top loaders that said error card and corrected card. Isn't that ridiculous? Like that somebody thought, oh, I need to put corrected card, this card in a corrected card top loader so they don't think it's the Billy Ripken error card by mistake.
Also, if you bought a pack of corrected card top loaders, you would have it for life. Because think about how many corrected cards. It's like, it's like Band-Aids. Like a box of Band-Aids should last you probably like your whole life. So same thing with the corrected. Are you kidding me? The corrected or error top loaders, like you'd be sitting on those forever. I mean, how many error cards do you own? Unless you own the Pro Set, that's different.
Yeah, I was just getting to that. Like putting together the 9091 Pro Set with the error cards in there. So I have, like, my version is I have the corrected card and the error if I have them both, or all the errors
in the binder,
whatever they are. Well, I have them in a box right now.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to binder them yet.
Yeah.
But they're all in penny sleeves, and I put little stickers on them, and I say corrected or the error, and I sort of write kind of an abbreviation of what the error is, and I have them all together. They're all in the box.
But that's a very unique situation.
Yeah. So like a 700 count, 700. How many are in Pro Set? 710?
705.
705.
Right.
Like it literally takes up a little more than an 800 count box because of all the errors and everything else that are in there.
Yeah.
But I mark them myself with little stickers.
Right.
I have like little garage sale stickers. I just write on the
Yeah.
penny sleeve. I would never like try to do the error card, corrected card, top loader. That's silly. I hate writing on top loaders. It's just a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I don't even like when people put the price tag on the top loaders. Like at the show, like I was taking things out of the top loaders, like if they had like a sticker on them, and I just put them in a clean top loader. Or if they put it on the penny sleeve.
Yeah, that's better. Put it on the penny sleeves. You can toss the penny sleeve.
Right.
Well, that's what I do, because if somebody buys a card off of me, especially like if it's a jersey card and it's in like a thick top loader, and then I slap a sticker on it, it's like, why would you do that? Because the thicker the top loader, the more expensive it gets. The cheap ones, you're looking at like a nickel to a dime each, and then they go up from there, and then you have some for like the super thick cards that are like $2 each, and then you have your one touches, but some people don't even put those in one touch bags, and then those get scratched up. And you're like, oh, I bought this really expensive card in a one touch, but it's all scratched up and it has a sticker on it.
Well, since I'm remaining positive.
What's even worse though is when these dudes, they take a sticker and they put it on the One Touch to like clamp it shut, but then it has their branding on it, right? Now Leaf does that with its cards, and I like that because it's Leaf, and I
Yeah, it's
understand
Leaf,
that
not
cable.
Bob's Cards or whoever.
Right,
Like,
but
yeah.
when Bob's Cards does that, it's like, well, gee, thanks, Bob. You just ruined a $2 magnetic One Touch. Or I have to like peel it off and goog on it.
As if you're never going to take it out of the One Touch. The little sticker kind of puts you in that position, like, oh, well, then I guess I'll never take it out.
Mhm.
And Topps does that too with their uncirculated stuff
Right.
or the stuff that they ship to you. I've noticed probably the last couple of years of getting redemptions and stuff from Upper Deck, they've been putting the sticker on. It's easy to peel off though. It's not one of those ones that's you need industrial adhesive remover.
It's okay to peel off that sticker. It's not like you broke the seal, now it's ruined. It's not, right? I mean, I know Topps does it too, but I don't
You're
get
buying
why.
the card. You're not buying the case. You're not
Yeah.
buying the sticker.
Right,
You're
right.
buying the card.
Right.
I mean,
It's
this is always
it's
the
a
case.
branding thing. It's a branding thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about the upcoming Chicago Sports Spectacular, which is going to take place November 22nd to 24th. So that's at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I will be set up there selling hockey cards, hockey t-shirts, and some other cool stuff. You should come check me out. I am more towards the autograph area. If you know that one spot where they sell a lot of jerseys and t-shirts and stuff, that one really big apparel company, I'm always right next to them. I wasn't back in March, but I will be again. Some of the hockey autograph guests at the not at the national. They had one hockey autograph guest at the national.
If we're talking about the national, the answer is 0.
Dominic Hasek won.
Okay, 1.
Yeah, no, he was there. I know for a fact. But then for the Chicago Sports Spectacular, there will be Chris Chelios, Ed Belfour. Jeremy Roenick had to cancel. But anyways, besides Chelios and Belfour, there will be Grant Fuhr, Yari Curry, Daryl Sittler, Billy Smith, Patrick O'Brien Dempsey, who is the actor who played Mike Eruzione in the movie Miracle, Bill Schneider, who played Buzz Schneider in the movie Miracle. Bill is Buzz's son, and then Buzz Schneider will also be there. So, got 2 actors who played hockey players. We have one of the Miracle on Ice players, and then a couple of excellent Hall of Fame former NHL players. So I'll be there. Please stop by, say hi, grab a Bad Hockey Card Hall of Fame set, pick up a t-shirt or 2, see what cards I have for sale. I think I got good stuff, but my mom says I'm cool. I think I have good stuff. Yeah, just come over and talk hockey. Tim, you'll be coming to the spectacular on Saturday, right?
Yeah, I should be around Saturday, maybe Sunday. I don't know.
Ooh,
We'll
both
see.
days, one either or both.
Depends. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have time, but we'll see.
It'll be my turn to be in the bunker that weekend in case there's a incident. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. The designated survivor. Although you can't track this show on social media too well because they don't really do too much on social media.
It's not big enough, I guess, for like a national or an expo where there's a lot of content being created. So I'll have to hear from you guys then.
Yeah, we'll report back.
I'll create some content.
I like that.
I'm going to cause a controversy and try to like trade cards in the snack bar. See what they do to me.
I think that's still okay at the Chicago Sports Spectacular.
Oh.
I don't think it became an epidemic like it did at the National. That was just nuts.
Yeah.
When I saw that dude with all his Funko Pops on one of the cafeteria tables that like people were supposed to sit and eat.
Like a pop-up table.
Yeah, it's like he had a display. He had them like arranged in like a pyramid, on the corner of the table, and then he had his bro case like in front of it, flipped open with his cards. Anyway, I remember that though. I was just like, okay, well, I guess this is okay. I guess trading is okay now.
They have to let people sell cards in there though. How do you expect anyone to afford a $14 Maxwell Street Polish?
Right.
I mean, seriously.
And soda. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even mention the $9 pop. I mean,
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. So the guy was selling the Funkos. He just had to eat.
Yeah.
All right, shall we talk about the expo?
Let's do it.
All right, so the expo took place this previous weekend, November 7th to 10th, in Toronto, technically in Mississauga, but they call it the Toronto Sport Card Expo, not to be confused with the Montreal Expo or the Edmonton Expo. It was a lot of fun. This is the third expo I've gone to. Clemente, I believe you've gone to a total of 3 expos, 2 fall expos, and 1 spring expo a couple of years back.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because you said it takes about 3 expos to really figure it out. Like just figure out everything. Like how do I get from the airport to the hotel to the expo? What's good to eat? What's inexpensive to eat, etc., and so forth.
Yeah.
Real quick, just before we forget, I want to give some shout outs to some people that Clemente or myself or both of us talked to or hung out with or whatever. Because I think one of the fun things about going to a convention, especially when you go for a few days, is that you have the time to talk to people. You have the time to interact with people and have conversations with them. So we hung out with Sean Sullivan, who's a game worn jersey collector from Chicago, and he runs a really great website called the Chicago Blackhawks Jersey History website. So he went to the expo. We ended up all hanging out with Sean and his friend Dave Butcher, who's also a jersey collector. So those guys were fun. I mean, we even had, went down to the bar, had a few drinks one night. Actually, I had a piece of chocolate cake because I don't really like. I'm like, I don't want beer. Can I have a slice of cake instead? Also, want to give a shout out to our friends from Ohio, Diane and Paul Bogar of DP Collectibles. I've known them for over 15 years, and they're just awesome people. And I'm always happy to see them at different shows. And Clemente runs into them at a lot of the East Coast shows that I don't get out to. And then I run into them in like the Midwestern shows that I do. Want to say hi to Laudio Martire of NHLHockeyStickers.com. Laudio's been helping me complete some of my hockey sticker sets for quite a while. And I always run into him at the expo and, talk to him and trade stuff with him. Jordan Papadopoulos, the owner of JP Hockey Cards, who is a fan of the podcast and a friend of the podcast. Anyways, also want to say hi to Ray Sandre of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Ray sets up and sells some of the stuff for the Hockey Hall of Fame, including some books, some t-shirts that were like $5 and are really nice for $5. Also, he sold me those Hockey Hall of Fame postcards that I was obsessing over a couple of years ago, and I said I was going to complete my set. I finally did. I want to say hi to Joel Alpert of AM Sports Marketing Group. Joel manages some of the athletes who sign autographs at the show, and he's always fun to talk to. John Costco of Edmonton, another collector, listener of the podcast. It's good to run into you and talk to you again. Also, you pointed me to the exit, which was helpful because I kept getting lost. Bobby Burrell, who published the Vintage Hockey Collectors book. Bobby is a huge authority on vintage hockey collecting pre-1990 stuff. He also runs an app called the Needham app, so I want to say hi to him. Want to say hi to Corey Njeldson and his son for selling me some complete Tim Horton sets. Corey listens to the podcast, and he and his son put together Tim Horton sets, and they bought so much that they were able to put together a couple of extra sets, which he sold me. So thank you for that, for making my collection grow with some new stuff that I didn't have yet. I want to say hi to Matthew Blayberg and Diane Hatley of Upper Deck, who we ended up talking with Saturday night for like an hour. They're both very fun. And of course, Miguel and Barry from Check Out My Cards, awesome people. Chris Carlin of PSA. And then, of course, we got to say hi to Steve Menzie and Mikey Singer for putting together another great fall expo. So hopefully I remembered everybody that I talked to or talked to us. I know I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 people. If I did, I'm so sorry for any perceived slight. There's just so much going on over the weekend, and it just, I'm still decompressing. I need to stop talking and let one of you talk so I can catch my breath.
It's a miracle we bought any cards because we did do a lot of socializing and did see a lot of people. When you said you were going to do a shout out, I didn't know it was going to be that long. It's like the movie credits at the end of a movie.
But I mean, I know 1 or 2 of these people I talked to and you didn't, but most of these people we both spoke with.
Yeah, no, I think everyone here knows that like a show like the Expo or the National is the kind of show that you're there for the cards and the memorabilia, but you're also there to socialize and talk to people in person that you either only know online or only have heard of or only spoken to through email or video, and so it's nice. Or you've seen them before, but at past expos or nationals, so you only see people once or twice a year. So I think the hobby is really about connecting with other people in person, as in addition to buying and selling. And I think that's why shows, this one was heavily attended. It was packed. Saturday, I would say, was extremely busy, and so was part of Sunday. If you have the money to go to the preview, because the Thursday night preview was really nice. It was pretty empty, and we did a lot of shopping that day and did a lot of rummaging, I should say, and that was good. And then a lot of the dealers are local, so every day they're bringing new stuff. Some of them are not, but the ones that are bringing in new stuff every day. So literally every day it feels like. And by Sunday, I thought we had seen all the show at least once, and then we found this whole area along the side that was close to where they had all the Pokemon and stuff that we were kind of ignoring. Turns out there was like another maybe 15, 20 tables that we had not seen all weekend. So part of Sunday morning felt like we were at a brand new show. So it goes to show you how big the expo has become, how it takes about 4 days if you want to see the whole thing.
And that's not even counting if you get autographs. We both got some autographs, or if you participate in any of the redemptions. Upper Deck had a redemption program. I didn't participate in that. I'd say that like it seemed pretty typical of like a card show where like the Thursday was pretty empty. I mean, you had a line to get in, but once we got in, it was like everybody spread out, so it wasn't really crowded at all. And then like Friday wasn't really crowded. Saturday was like, I can't walk, I can't breathe, I can't think. It wasn't like jam packed like the National was, but it's a smaller show. But I feel like proportionately on Saturday, there was like where you try to look at a table and there'd just be like a lot of people around it, and you just be like, nah, and you just keep walking. And then Sunday, it kind of started like that, but then it kind of thinned out like after 12, I'd say, because well, you were there till like 1. So I would say like around that time, it started thinning out a bit. And you even commented, you said, wow, we can move around and see stuff we didn't see yesterday.
Yeah, it thins out because people like me and you, we tend to start leaving by Sunday afternoon. And then there's football. People do leave to watch football. So I think those two factors probably made Sunday more of a half day, but Saturday was crazy. The good thing about Saturday was that after seeing the tables for 2 days, Saturday was a good day to go to Q&A and watch people being interviewed on stage or getting autographs. I will say, I think the two most popular that I noticed, I think, was Jeremy Roenick and Joe Carter. I think they had very long lines. They were there, I think, at least 2 hours each, it seemed. Especially Joe Carter. He did a Q&A and did the signing, and the line was super long. The autograph pavilion section seemed smaller than the years past, which I think made the lines kind of bleed into what the dealers were, which I thought was not ideal, because I think they wanted to jam in more dealer tables. But whatever, it makes money, I get it. But like at the National or even Chicago during the Spectacular, the autograph area is always a little crazy. And if you don't need to get autographs, I would not recommend going anywhere near that area because it's crazy.
Yeah, it was a smaller autograph area, and that was a problem for the dealers who were right up next to it because people couldn't see their table, or like you couldn't go around from like one aisle to the next aisle. Like you would go like around because there would just be like a mess of people. This was also true on Sunday when the Mahavlich brothers, Pete and Frank Mahavlich, were signing autographs. That line was long. I mean, there was the fast pass line for that. So you could buy a fast pass. They'll give you a fast pass for free if you buy a VIP package. But then and it's good as long as the fast pass for that player didn't sell out. But some people will pay extra for the fast pass for a particular player, which that line goes first. But there was like the fast pass line for the brothers was so long that the other line wasn't moving. So you had one line that wasn't moving that had filled in the whole queue and it was wrapping around. And then you had this other line that was like the length of the area and then like starting to go the width of the area as well. Yeah, that's a problem when you especially like and then when they added Domi later on that afternoon on Sunday, that I got a story about that in a minute. But yeah, and then you had like two massive lines that were just like think I can't remember if they were right next to each other, which would have been bad design if it was. You got to put the big guys at the ends or, yeah, on the ends, so that there's a little bit of room in between them. Otherwise, you just have these long lines that are like almost intermingling. I got a couple of autographs. I got one autograph on Saturday. I got Natalie Darwitz, Hockey Hall of Fame inductee for 2024, also member of Team USA for many, many years. So, I was so happy to get her autograph, and I have like her first ever hockey card, which was a set of the Olympians from 2002, the women's Olympic hockey team. That was super nice. She signed my card, and I was going to ask her to inscribe it, but then I couldn't remember. Sometimes inscriptions are free, sometimes inscriptions are $15 extra. I usually don't pay the extra for the inscriptions because the people who do that always want something very specific. It's a specific photo and they want to inscribe like first goal or whatever, right? I really don't do any of that. But I was going to ask her and I stopped, and then she's like, "Oh, do you want me to put my induction year?" I said, "Yeah, if it's no trouble." She's like, "Oh, no trouble at all. Happy to do it." Right. So it was just nice. And then even like, I wasn't sure what color to get the card side because it was kind of dark. So I wasn't sure if blue was going to look good on it. Somebody suggested like a bright blue, like that baby blue that you use on a puck. And I asked, "Well, what did you think of that?" She goes, "I don't think that would look good. I think the navy blue would look good." And she was right. It did. So that was nice. Then on Sunday, I needed 3 autographs, and they were all at the same time. One was at 1:00, another one was at 1:00, and then the third one was at 2:00. And then I wanted to be at the airport at 4:00. So I was like a little nervous about that. But Clemente, why don't you talk about your autographs that you got, and then I could come back to that story.
So, no, usually I go into an expo or even the national with the idea of getting maybe one autograph, and then it always works out that I end up with like 2 or 3 because someone gives me a free ticket, Sal gives me one, and then before I know it, I have end up with 3 autographs, which I did this time. But I did go in with wanting to get Tom Glavine autographed, and I got him on this Throwback Thursday card that of him shooting a puck in a Braves uniform. It's a very unique item. I got it on ComC, and he was very nice and signed that. And I got Rick Natras, who I think was signing for free, first 100 people on that Saturday morning or Friday?
That was Friday evening.
Friday evening. All the days melded together, and so we got him. And thanks to Sal, he gave me a Pro Set card to sign, and I think Pro Set cards get signed. They're awesome. So I got him, and then Sal interviewed Stefan Fissé, the Nordiques, and then Sal once again gave me his score rookie card that he had a few of, and I got him signed, and did a good Q&A with Sal that I'm sure at some point everyone here who missed it will see it or hear it. That's the extent of the autographs I got in person. I then ended up on Sunday buying a, let's say, Lafreniere autographed card that was fairly affordable at $25 Canadian. Interesting backstory. Dealer told us, when he signs for Upper Deck, he signs his full name, Lafreniere, and then when he just signs not for Upper Deck, he just does like an AL with a line through it, and that's the one I got. Interesting that players are doing that or do that. Goes to show you sort of the sort of how the autograph market's grown to the point where players are modifying their autograph or catering it to how elaborate do you want it. If you're going to pay big bucks, then it'll be more elaborate than me. This clearly looks like something he signed in a parking lot or in a car walking or something. But either way, for 25 Canadian, it couldn't go wrong. That's what I got. I know that Sal got many more and also helped Tim out, who wasn't there, get some autographed pucks. So.
Yeah, so I did interview Stefan Fissé, and then I got a couple things signed by him after that. I'm always happy when I could talk to an NHL player. I mean, a few years back for the virtual expo, I spoke with Bobby Hull, and that was awesome. Funny because, like, I remember Stefan Fissé when he came into the league. I knew that he was on the Avalanche when he won the Stanley Cup. And, what was interesting was he told me that he said that he and Jocelyn Thibault were the goalies. And the trade was supposed to be him for Patrick Roy. Like, he was supposed to go to Montreal for Patrick Roy because they wanted, well, I found out later they wanted a French-Canadian goalie. He didn't say that, but I knew that from just stuff that I read. So the thing was then, like, one of the GMs changed. I forget on which team or whatever. I think the Montreal GM changed, and then they said, no, we don't want Fissé. We want Thibault. So then Fisset got to stay and be the backup and win the cup. So he almost was the one who got traded for Patrick Waugh, but instead he wasn't traded. So he remained on the team. But, he was also the most valuable goaltender at the 1990 World Junior Championships when Team Canada won the gold medal. So, we talked about that. We talked about like him starting his NHL career. He talked about like Guy Lafleur as a teammate on the Nordiques. He also talked about he was a big wrestling fan. So I asked him like who some of his favorite wrestlers were, but then he'd be like, "Oh, you wouldn't know him. He's French Canadian or whatever." But then he's like, "Oh, but then I know some of the more popular WWE wrestlers." So he got into, talk about wrestling, which was fun. And then like as far as like autographs, like when we got Rick Natras's autograph, he was on the 89 Flames, and that team was just unstoppable. I mean, they won the Stanley Cup that year, but they were the best team in the league by far. They were like 10 or 20 points ahead of like the next best team, if I remember correctly, that season. And a lot of times you see teams that win the President's Trophy, then they flame out in the playoffs, no pun intended. And here they did the opposite. They won the President's Trophy like handily, and then they won the cup. And I said to him, when he was signing my cards, I said, I'm almost over the 89 Flames beating the Blackhawks and you assisting on that goal that eliminated the Blackhawks. And he's like, I remember that goal well, like he didn't score it, he just assisted on it. But, it was one of his big career things, because he was a stay-at-home defenseman. So he didn't have a whole heck of a lot of points in his career. But, he smiled about that. He talked and he's like, we should have swept the Blackhawks in 4 that series. It went to 5, but it should have been 4. But, then he wrote SC 1989 on the card. So that was nice. And then like on Sunday, Tim, I wanted to get your puck signed, but of course, I also wanted to get Gilles Meloche to sign my Blackhawk book. So Meloche and Dennis Huron, they were signing at the same time, 1:00 and 1:00. And I'm like thinking, all right, how do I do this? So I went into the shorter line, which was Huron, got my things signed. Then by the time I went to Meloche, that line had shortened. So then I was able to get through that. And it was like 1:40 after that. So I'm like, all right, Jerry's Desjardins starts at 2. 2:00 rolls around and there's no open stage for him yet. Then finally I see a mob of people and I'm like, who's going to be signing here? And I should have known that it wasn't an older player because one of the guys like, one of the Maple Leafs, I hope. Because there were a couple of current Maple Leafs. There was Simon Benoit, Bobby McMahon, and Ty Domi. And so everybody's waiting for Ty Domi. And it was funny because somebody came out. And it was funny. It was like they were starting to gravitate towards that stage, like the mob was moving. And then they put up a sign that said Simon Benoit. And they're like, "Aw!" And then everybody flocked to the other stage that didn't have a sign on it yet, thinking, okay, that's going to be Ty Domi. And then the guy comes out and then he puts up the sign that says Bobby McMahon. And then everybody's like, "Ah!" And gets like really mad because they're all waiting for Ty Domi.
Max Domi.
Oh, sorry. Max Domi.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Max Domi. Big difference. So all these people had like no place to go. So they were just waiting outside of the autograph lines. And then you had like these 2 really short lines for current Maple Leafs. They moved the sign and then they put it over there so that any stragglers that needed one or the other could still get those 2 Leafs. And then they put up the sign for Max Domi. Thank you, Max Domi. I wrote down Ty Domi in my notes. Yeah, and then that line was jammed. Like that line was jammed and the Mahavlich brothers was jammed. And I'm waiting. And then finally, I think Rocket Ismail, that was another one that had a lot of people. That line finally subsided. And then they put up a sign for Jerry Desjardins. And then I used my fast pass for that because I'm like, I got to catch a plane. It's like 3:00 and we're waiting. And I'm like, okay, he's an hour late. And I'm nervous, so I'm going to use my fast pass. And then somebody joked, oh, look, there's more people in the fast pass lane for this player than there are people in just the regular line. But then I got my book signed by him, and I also got a card signed, and it was cool. I ended up getting all the autographs that I set out to get. There is waiting, but if you have a little bit of patience and you strategize a little bit, it's manageable. The only thing I couldn't have done is I couldn't have done the Mahavlich brothers and those other guys at 1:00. But I could have probably done Rocket Ismail. And that's another thing too, is that like part of me is like cheap, like I don't want to pay for an autograph because I think as a kid, I was just so used to getting free autographs. But then I look and you go, $20, $25, it's fine. Then I have the thing that I want signed. And then maybe I get to talk and have a cool little exchange with the players. Like I'll tell you, like the one that I had with Gilles Malash. I said to him, I said, I've never seen you play, but I admire your career. You played a long time in the league. I said, and it seemed like every set of hockey cards I had you in the set of cards. And I asked him, because I have this Blackhawk book that pictures every Blackhawk that played from 1926 to 1986. And I said, what do you remember about playing for the Blackhawks? And he said, oh, it was only 2 games. And I go, yeah. I mean, were you on the bench for any of those games? He's like, yeah. Jerry Desjardins, who was also signing, he got hurt, and then I got called up, and he's like, I got to play 2 games, but I was on the bench for like 18 games. And then he's like, thank God I got traded, because Tony Esposito was the starter. So most of the time, Tony O would play like 74 games, and then another goalie would play like 6 games, and that would be it for the season. So he's like, yeah, thank God I got traded, or I wouldn't have had an 18-year career. So it was a fun conversation. Oh, and by the way, Tim, when I showed Milosh that puck, and I said to him, I said, my friend said this is the style of puck that you would have been stopping during the 87-88 season. Is that true? And he looked, he goes, I can't remember that far back. I can't even remember yesterday. But then he remembered 1972 playing for the Blackhawks for 2 games and being on the bench and stuff like that. Now, Dennis Huron, on the other hand, when I showed him the puck that you asked me to get signed for him, and I said, my friend said that this is the style of puck that you would have been stopping at the Igloo back in the day. And he looked at it, he goes, yeah, tell your friend he's correct. This is the right style of puck. So there you go.
I don't need any validation. I do my research.
I know you did your research and you decided that this was the best puck to get autographed, but don't you like that little bit of reassurance that the goalie that would have been seeing that puck, this is the 80s Penguins, so 40, 50, 60 times a night would confirm that?
I don't doubt for a minute that Tim was right, but I'm just curious, Tim, what was the scuttlebutt on social? I didn't check X or Instagram the whole entire time I was at the show, so I have zero clue.
So here's the thing. I don't follow a lot of the big, huge accounts like from YouTube and stuff like that. The people that are always pointed to as being like the saviors of the hobby, those types of people. I don't follow a lot of those on there. So I didn't really watch a lot of their stuff, but I would search throughout most of the weekend just looking for people's videos and stuff. I will say this, the show floor looked pretty massive from all the videos and pictures I saw. It seemed like everybody that was taking a tour of the floor and walking around all somehow ended up in the far corner with all those giant foam Pokemon statues.
Yes.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah. We tried to ignore that area for a while, but yes.
The giant Meowth head.
Yeah, they segregated all the sort of the Pokemon One Piece people in one place. Yeah.
You could see that from a lot of people's angles, just pointed in that direction. And then a few videos, people walk by and you see the
giant Pikachu
Team Rocket thing in the corner and the giant Meowth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw the Pikachu balloon or whatever that was floating around, and I mean all the little stand-up statues and stuff were kind of cool. And then somebody zoomed in enough to see that said, "We are made of foam." I was like, wow, somebody spent a lot of time doing those. But anyway. So yeah, I mean, it looked like a ton of square footage and a lot of dealers shoved into some of that small areas. It didn't look like, certain spots were wide open, and then other spots, it looked like people were on top of each other practically. But, as far as people talking about the show and everything else, it's mostly positive. I looked at a lot of stuff afterward. The people posted, oh, big hit here and, busted this product or opened this and opened that. There was something going around about some dealer got robbed and the police they've caught the guy and hauled him out of there, I guess.
Do you know what it was, what that was stolen? Because this might tie into something that
there's 2 different incidents, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
which one were they?
What I saw, there was I don't know, something like, it was like 30 grand worth of cards or something like that.
Yeah, apparently. I saw that only when I got home, and on Monday morning I did a YouTube search, and it turns out the guy had stolen the cards, and then think tried to come back and sell them to somebody else. And
Yeah.
I didn't see any of
Saw
that at the show, but I'm saying I saw it on YouTube. And then people held them, and the police. There were a lot of police officers on the hall floor anyway, but they arrested him. So it sounds like it was a case of a really stupid thief. But
Yeah, so I mean I saw that. There were a couple instances of that, but that was the big one. I mean, it was hockey wall to wall. Just hockey everywhere. Everybody's videos. And it's funny because you start to go through a lot of the social media videos between, the Instagram stuff and the YouTube stuff and everything that's out there. And it's just like people are whipping from table to table to table to and like, oh, more hockey, more hockey, more hockey. And they're just glazing by it because they want to look for all the ultra modern football and basketball and everything else. And I'm thinking, this is such a different world from what, we would want to see at a card show. Like this is obviously Disney World for a hockey card collector, and it's like I'm jealous of watching all this, and I'm thinking they're just going booth by booth really fast, and I'm going, "Hey, go back there!" But obviously you can't stop the video and rewind or whatever because they keep moving. So yeah, I mean it was fun to watch from that standpoint. Now to the app, the Expo app.
functionality.
Let's talk about that for a second.
And it didn't even work on Android. There was no they said if you wanted to download it for Android, you can't. But I had it for Android. I think I uninstalled it for whatever reason, and then I just figured, oh, I'll reinstall it next fall because it takes up a lot of room. And then it's like, oh, can't do it. Well, that sucks. Oh well.
Weird because I have it. I deleted it, and then for the spring, I re-downloaded it and just left it on my phone. So I still have it on my phone. It works. It's kind of spotty. Trying to pull up the videos on the app, they immediately go back and link to their YouTube page. The live feed, I don't think it ever loaded. And when it did, one time it like locked up within a few seconds. So any of the live stuff I was watching on the YouTube feed, so they had YouTube live running and it would update. So I would refresh it to try to go live, but then it would lock up constantly. It kept locking up, locking up, locking up. So I'm like, this is weird. And so I tried it on the laptop. I tried it on a different laptop that I have too. It was the same thing. So I'm like, well, this just must be something with their feed. So then I would wait a few hours and then I'd go back, rewind it, and put it at a spot where there was something actually going on stage. And then I would watch the interviews and stuff like that. Major sound issues with the recordings. Major sound issues. Like, I watched, and I brought it up to both of you. I watched Sal's interview with Fisey, and it was all like crackly and it sounded like everything was tuned down, so everyone's in the witness protection program, where their voices were super deep. Because as soon as I heard Sal talk, it was so weird. I'm like, why does he sound like that?
Yeah, the hall was pretty empty.
Yeah, I don't know. It had to be something with their sound quality. Because I was thinking when I heard Sal start to talk, I'm like, dude, clear your throat or something, because that's not your voice. I'm like, what is happening? And then I realized it was that because then I started hearing the crackling and stuff. Well, the few things that were before him were okay. But from Sal forward, the sound was all jacked up. And so I even checked later on in the day and it was still messed up. So I was like, well, that's super weird. So then I went back and watched some of the Friday videos. They were fine. And then a couple in the morning on Sunday were screwy, but I didn't catch the rest. So,
right.
Watching those, okay, they are what they are. You guys have 15 minutes. You need to get as much information out of whoever the guest is as you possibly can. You can take multiple routes to do that. They're really there as a guest to be part of the show, whatever. Half of them have autographs. They got to be in certain places at certain times. So you have a very limited amount of time. So, the approach that Sal took, talk about your career, talk about some highlights of your career, talk about this, talk about that. You're nailing some key points along the way in that small amount of time and trying to make it engaging and interesting. Other people took approaches where they were like, do you collect cards? Do you collect memorabilia? what's one piece of memorabilia you've got over the years of playing? Who would you wish you would have gotten stuff from? And that's another approach to take, and I get it. Then there were some personalities that were doing some interviews that were just, ooh, they're rough. They're rough to watch. And it wasn't just because of the sound quality. It was like, really? We're going to ask these like really vapid and just hollow questions to some of these people? It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, I will say this on our end, the technology that was doing the live stream looked better than last year's, but it looks like on your end, the output was the same, or not the same, but
The
not.
cameras were better. The cameras
Yeah.
were way better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because a year ago, they were super grainy and they were pretty bad.
Right.
They had multiple camera angles this time from both sides of the stage and a dead-on straight. They were really good quality. The feed was good. It's just the sound was bad.
Yeah.
The last time around when that happened, probably last year's Fall Expo, I messaged the support twice. I messaged support twice and I got no response back. So I don't know who monitors that. I don't know if it's Mikey or Steve or they have somebody else do it. I don't know. That was kind of rough. Now, I haven't gone back and watched the actual video now that the live feed is over with to see if that sound is fixed. But while it was live, it was pretty crazy. It's a great idea, right? People can't attend. You'd be able to watch it. You'd be able to see the interviews and at least have that type of participation in it. I like that. That's nice. And I hope they don't get away from that. But I do hope they're able to clean it up a little bit more. I would like to see a little more of that because obviously as an outsider, I'm not there walking around and spending all that time. So there's no feed of the people walking around the thing and shopping. Like neither of you were wearing GoPros, so I could watch you walk around the floor or anything. But, when I want to watch from a distance, it's nice to be able to turn it on and be like, oh, so-and-so's on stage. Oh, there's an interview here. Oh, there's this here. There's this here. So when you go through and you look at what was on scheduled for the main stage and you're like, okay, do I want to watch this? Do I want to watch that? Yeah, they were running things every 15 minutes to a half hour in between, but it would have been nice to see a little more. I mean, they had a Jeremy Roenick interview. They did Gary Payton, Joe Carter, Grant Fuhrer. Sal, you've interviewed Stefan Fise. Sunday, I didn't see it, but Sunday, Chris Pronger was supposedly there. I know Serge Savard was up there on Sunday also. So it would have been nice to see a few more interviews pop up for those of us that couldn't attend, because really the only expo that I'm familiar with is the dry erase marker. So
just a quick correction. Jeremy Roenick actually didn't do the Q&A. He
didn't.
He was supposed to, but he didn't for whatever reason. We waited, and then I heard like somebody say, yeah, he's going to be here in 5 minutes. And then after that, they were just like, no, he's not. He's not going to be here. Certainly
explains why when I was fast forwarding through, I got to the Joe Carter interview and the Gary Payton interview, and then there was nothing. Just like the placeholder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's Roenick? Where's Roenick? Where's Roenick? I didn't even see him. So I was like, maybe he's late.
And it was crowded. Like people wanted to see his Q&A. Like there was a lot of people, like pretty much every seat was filled. Clemente and I were standing like towards the back. Then like everybody just got up and left, and I was like, he's not coming. All right, whatever. Yeah, I mean that's unfortunate because Roenick is such an interesting person to listen to. And especially, to hear he's going into, or he's now in the Hall of Fame. So would have been cool to just hear what he had to say about that, or his thoughts on that, or, whatever they ended up asking him about. But I will say this, if they put a GoPro on me, that'd be a very sad feed. Tim, you'd be watching me with the GoPro. He'd be like, no, Sal, you already went that way. Why are you walking in circles? No, you already went that way. Like, oh, wait, no, Sal's going into the bathroom.
It needs to be interactive.
Turn it off.
Yeah, it needs to be interactive. So you have an earpiece and like I could tell you, hey, you already went down there. Go this way instead. Oh, okay. And then you go whatever. So it could be something like that.
That'd be like funny, like if I'm walking around like a first person shooter with my hand up, but it'd be like money.
Yeah.
And me walking around with like the money out in front of me instead of a gun, because we're not gonna do we'll call it an FPS, a first person spender, right? And I can like walk up to the table with my money and then you'd be like, yeah, buy that, right? I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying, if you're looking for content ideas, I think that's a pretty good one.
That would actually be fun if you'd be like, let's look that way.
Like a personal shopper for cards.
Yeah. Like have your GoPro and you're talking into the microphone with them, whether it's over the phone or whatever, but you got access to the live feed. I mean, you would have to have a heck of a Wi-Fi connection for that to
It'd be like
work.
a headset with the microphone, and it'd have to have like the eyepiece, like the rangefinder eyepiece. So I could like hold it up, and then you could see like the condition.
Then you look like an Army Ranger going through there.
That'd be okay, man. Like I said, it's a first person spender. You got to have the right gear for the job.
We should point out that the show, you're right, likes to talk about how it has basketball and football and other sports, but the truth is, it is mostly a hockey show. If I was going to the show for modern basketball, I think I'd be disappointed. There was like maybe 6 dealers who had that. So it is mostly a hockey show, and it will always be the case, I think. But the other thing too is that it's great for oddball stuff. This year, especially, I feel like 'cause Sal and I spent a lot of time rummaging through boxes looking for stuff. Forget about cards because those exist everywhere on the internet too, right? But some of the stuff you don't see anywhere. And so that was fun. And then just a couple of trends I noticed. There's a ton of vintage hockey. Some of it's not affordable, but it's negotiable. I think if you're trying to finish your set, or maybe even getting Marcel Dion or Guy Lafleur rookie, like there's so many different dealers who had those cards in different grades or different versions of raw, that you're going to be able to find it and walk out with it, which is great. And then, there was lots of modern stuff because a lot of dealers broke cases and cases of Series 1, for example. So there was tons of inserts that if you want to finish your insert set, you could, like those Young Guns Revisited. Like I ended up buying 22 of them. It was good to pick those up. I mean, I didn't pick up the Ovechkin because it was going for $60 Canadian, and that was ridiculous. And I can wait 6 months or a year and get that when it's down to $5. And then the last thing I noticed, and Sal and I noticed as well, was just how expensive junk wax is, or 80s, 90s wax products are very expensive. And I don't know why that is. And even on the last day, I thought maybe it'd go down in price because it's Sunday and dealers don't want to carry it. And no, it was still expensive. And we're talking about, OPG Premier, like 91. We're talking about Upper Deck Hockey, 91, 92. We're talking, tops from the 80s, like stuff like that.
Well, tops from the 80s is going to be expensive.
But late 80s, or 89, but 90. Like
89.90 tops, I saw a box for $130.
What?
$130. It had the special baseball card exchange shrink wrap on it.
What?
Yeah, I know. You want to know what? Like back in like 2019 or 2017, I know that's almost 10 years now, but I remember buying a box for like $30 and like saying, "Oh, I'm spending $30 on cards I already have." But boy, wouldn't this be a fun rip?
$30 even seems like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, 91, 92 Upper Deck. Some guy had it for 45. I'm like, that's $5. It wasn't even a French one. It was the English one. And I'm like, why is that 40?
And like somebody had like a high number series of 91 Upper Deck for $35. Again, not the French version, just the little box set. 91, 92 Parkhurst boxes. I found some for 20. I found some for 30. It's like ridiculous. Like 93, 94 Topps Premier or Peachy Premier. I'm not sure it's one of those. But they wanted like $40 for the box, which is funny because it's like a $10 set. So what are you going to do? You're going to grade the cards that come in it? Like, I'm all for like cheap thrills, like you get that box of wax, you get that nostalgic feeling from, opening up old packs. But it's like, why would anybody spend $35 on a box of 91 Upper Deck? It just didn't make sense. You know what I mean? Or like, there'd be like, one guy had like packs of Score, like 91 Score for like $5 a pack.
What?
Yes, I'm not making that up. I said to Clemente, I'm like, well, the world has just gone crazy. Black is white, up is down, right is wrong. I mean, you had to look for prices that you're comfortable paying. I mean, I'm just going to throw out a couple of things that I saw. sealed 87-88 box of Topps hockey, $800. Now, it's 87-88, but that's not Patrick Waugh's rookie year. That's not Mario Lemieux's rookie year.
87, 88. How much did you say? 800?
$800 for a sealed box of Topps.
What?
Now, a lot of dealers don't price things, and one guy had a box that just said 87-88 on it, just a white cardboard box that was all yellowed. And I said, is that the Topps or the O-Pee-Chee set? He said, the O-Pee-Chee set. I said, how much? He said, $500. All right, now I flip it open. All the cards not sleeved. They look kind of rough. And there wasn't like anything in there to keep them from sliding around. The cards were like doing this, or they kind of move back and forth. You know what I mean? And I like thinking, this dude wants $500 for a set of cards, not in sleeves, not in pages, not in whatever. Not even the key cards were like top loaded. It was just like rolling around loose in like a 400 count box, and it's a 264 card set. And I was just like, oh, okay. Now another dealer had the same set for $250. That's a little more in line with what an 87-88 O-Pee-Chee set should be, but it's just ridiculous. Like sometimes I would just look at a card that caught my eye. I'm like, oh, there's a Ron Hextall 87-88 O-Pee-Chee rookie, $45. I'm like, that is not a $45 card. I know the Topps version's like a $10 card. I could sell that card for $10 all day long. The O-Pee-Chee version, I feel should be like 20 to 25. 40 seems ridiculous. And then like a couple ones stood out to me, non-sports. Not really a big non-sport person. I'm actually parting out my non-sport collection. Somebody had a 1977 Topps Star Wars Series 1 set. And he's like, $250. I look on eBay. Yes, I checked the comps. But it's like a $75 set. $100. So $250, and I know that's Canadian, but $250 is just way off base. Another dealer, he had the complete 1979 Topps Alien set. I comped that set recently because I priced that set to sell at a toy show. It's like a $20 to $30 set. The guy had it for $110. Again, Canadian, but $110. And then like just one example that stands out in my mind, raw card, current player, Yaroslav Askarov, former Nashville Predator. Now he's in the Sharks organization. It was a rookie patch auto, but it's $400. I said to Clemente, I said, is an unproven talent worth $400? And Clemente's like, no. I mean, not to put words in your mouth, but I think you said no. Like it was so obvious. Like, what am I missing? Like, the rookie card is like 2 years old, and the guy's played like less than 10 games in the NHL.
Askey's a good player, but as we all know, goalies take a little bit to marinate. So very rarely does a goalie come in and just, sets the world on fire right off the bat. There's that 1% of the 1%, but, most goalies take a little while. And so, yeah, that's a card you get, you sit on it for a while. I mean, to the right person, you're going to sell that one, but I'm more blown away by some of those wax prices. Like, I know modern wax and current stuff that comes out is way overpriced by both Fanatics and Upper Deck, depending on whatever the product is. It really doesn't matter at this point. And blame it on the manufacturers, blame it on the dealers. I don't know. Point your finger at whoever, but people are still buying it. So obviously they can justify keeping the prices where they do. But to have an $89.90 Topps box over $100. I mean, even it's 130 Canadian. I mean, still, what's the exchange rate now? Like 78%, something like that.
Yeah, 80 cents on dollar, right?
You're still rocking the better portion of 115, 120 bucks almost. Especially if you have to pay tax on it. Do they have tax up there? They have to have tax, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you pay cash, there was no tax. But when you bought like the autograph tickets, there were tax on top of that. So there was total sticker shock when I'm like, yes, I'd like to buy autograph tickets for these players. And they're like, it's this much. And then I looked and I said, wait, I thought it was $20. And they're like, oh, but then when you add the tax, it's this much. And then they also just rounded up, which was annoying. There's no such thing as the Canadian penny, by the way. But for the expo, like they didn't even say change. Like if it was like $20 plus tax, then they would just say $24, not like $23.57 or whatever. Even lunch wasn't like Actually, lunch wasn't cheap, but we had a really good strategy. Clemente's like, let's just leave the expo. Because, like, when I'm at the expo, I'm like, I'll just buy food at the expo because I'm here, I'm vacationing. But Clemente's like, look, it's like less than 10 minutes to just walk back to where the Tim Hortons was, where we would have breakfast. And then there's like other restaurants around there. So that was actually a good strategy. Like, if you didn't mind walking a few minutes, then you could like save some money and have more variety in food. Because I think the only food they had it there was it just pizza? No, they had other food there too, but it was going to be like overpriced, whatever, like the same stuff we got where we went.
Yeah, also the weather was good and it was good to clear our heads because, when you're at a show all those hours, it could become like visual overload and you just want to take a breather because what day was the longest day? Was it Friday? We were there until 8 o'clock, was it?
Friday was like 10 to 8 or
Yeah.
like 9:30 to 8.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a long day. I want to say this too. Like, I was overwhelmed the first day. The thing is like they rearranged the space. It's actually better. They used to have it in like two different halls that were like connected by a hallway. So there was like one side of the show, the other side of the show, and it's a lot of like moving back and forth between the two halls. And then there's dealers in the hallway. So it's, yeah, I say hallway, but it's like really wide.
Yeah.
Think of like just like a shopping mall hallway, like it's wide. They did a different layout this year, which worked better. But it took me a little while to figure out the lay of the land. The other thing is that in the United States, if you're a hockey card collector like I am, Tim, I know you also dabble in some baseball, football with your Steelers and your Pirates. So you're kind of looking for other stuff. Me, I kind of screen out the baseball, the football, the basketball, unless something really catches my eye and say, I really want a Bo Jackson rookie card. Okay, I'm going to buy it, right? In the United States, it's like if I'm at a show, most people don't have hockey. You see the hockey, and then you just kind of decide, is that something I want or is it something I don't want? Right? Like, oh, I already have that set, thank you. Or you think, that's too much money, or you go, oh, I don't really collect pucks, right? Here, everything was hockey. 80% of it was hockey. So it was very easy to go to one table, look at all their hockey, spend 45 minutes, then go to the next table, look at all their hockey, spend another 45 minutes. So this year I learned to be really selective. It would be easy for me to blow all my cash at like the first three tables, because it's mostly hockey, right? So what I did was I was very focused. I bought almost no new stuff. I wasn't going to complete my Young Gun sets because I could get Young Guns anywhere. I could get them in the United States. I could get them on ComC. I could get them on eBay. So I wasn't going to sift through boxes and boxes of Young Guns. Now, if I wanted to, I would have had a field day doing that. But I thought to myself, I can find that. What I can't find are vintage. That gets harder to get. Here, there was no shortage of vintage hockey. There wasn't a ton of it. Well, I'd say there was a ton of it. There was like a ton of everything. But I found like the last four cards I needed to complete my 5960 Parkhurst set. And then I found a few cards I needed for my 5354 Parkhurst set. Unfortunately, I didn't find any cards I needed for my 6364 Parkhurst set, but it was like that, where I was very specific about the things I was looking for. And maybe, like current Blackhawks players I collect. I mean, you got to be open to other things too. Like if you see a deal, you can't just say, oh, well, I'm not really collecting that. If it's a deal, you get it. You know what I mean? Or if it's something you like, you get it. But I had to be really hyper focused or semi focused, if that makes sense.
Did you guys happen to see the table? I'm sure you did, but walking around, there was a table, obviously me not being there, but I saw this on multiple videos, and I can only place it like there was a wall in the background. There was a giant number 2 on the wall, which I can only assume that was where the bathrooms were. At least in my head, that's what I'm thinking. And then there was like just down from that was a big banner that said pizza, pizza.
Yes.
So there's this aisle.
It's near the entrance.
And okay, so there was an aisle. These people had a huge, really long set of tables. It looked like all vintage hockey, but on the curtains behind them, they had all these uncut sheets
Yes.
of stuff. Did you see them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had like an uncut sets of like World Hockey Association cards and like 70s
Yeah.
hockey.
It
Yeah.
was hard to see on the videos because they were in the background, so then people were going so fast, but I was catching bits and pieces of stuff.
Yeah, I think that was Martin Sports. That's the guy who buys the back page of the Beckett magazine, and he's got like maybe 100 Gretzky rookies in the showcase.
I couldn't see a sign, but I know one of the cases where a guy stopped on, there were like 2 cases full of original Parkies.
Mhm.
Both cases were full, and a lot of them were in really nice shape.
Right.
Most of them graded, and they were pretty high grades for that set.
Well, like the National, they have the long-standing dealers near the entrance in the prime locations, and most of those guys do vintage, but they do up until 1990, let's say, and they stop. So, yeah, no, that's true. And that main hall is a lot like the main hall that they did the Spring Expo I went to a couple of years ago, and that was easy to navigate because it was a grid. But then it became more complicated when you drifted off to the other hall where they had the other 2 halls where they had the PSA and Beckett, and then you had the autograph pavilion, and then they had dealers commingled in there because they want to try to maximize every little bit of space to get more and more tables. I assume, like the National, there's people dying to do the show, and so that's where it becomes more chaotic. But I guess a lot of the videos you saw was the main hall where a lot of those dealers have been there a long time, and they have super nice vintage. Even though it's raw, it's super nice. Yeah, Sal's right about spending time at a particular place. I actually spent a lot of time going through the more modern stuff. Sal's right, you can get that anywhere, but I miss or like the idea of searching for it in person and not on ComC or on eBay, because when you go to the National, nobody has even a box to look through because nobody's opening up a case of Series 1. They'll open one box and then they'll have 3 cards in the showcase. That's what they, 3 Young Guns, and that's it. And I've been to the show before where I did a lot of completed sets of the 80s and stuff like that. So I wasn't doing that so much, but we traveled together for big chunks of it. And so it was good to have, Sal said, "Oh, I didn't even notice that." It was a Grand Fuhrer rookie at one point. And I was like, look, when you have 2 pairs of eyes looking at someone's booth, it's better than having just one. And so we were kind of helping each other out that way. And it was good. Kind of like when we did, Tim and I were at the National, we went together and we found a few hockey tables and we'll do stuff together. Like, something social about it, but also like you get to see more and point things out to other people. And it was good to negotiate with people that way too, So yeah, no, there was plenty of inventory. I mean, that's no doubt. And I feel like the show is getting better and better, I think. I've been there 3 times. Maybe it's also because you get familiar with how to manage the planning and everything that goes with going to a show like that and traveling and getting to the hotel and packing a bag. Like, that's a lot of work. It's not, I envy people who live in the Toronto area who just drive there and spend the day there and go home at night. That's got to be great. But yeah, no, I think what you noticed online is a lot like what we witnessed in person. There's not much of a disconnect. But like I said, overall, a great experience, and I definitely want to go back. Maybe make it an annual thing in the fall.
I'm going to have to go one of these times.
Yeah, no, it would be great.
I'm going to have to call my buddy JT and see if he'll reinstate me to be able to go back into that country.
Is that what's keeping you?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a falling out, so he doesn't want me in his country. So.
Yeah, well, our friend Jordan Papadopoulos kept saying, "You guys got to bring Tim. You guys got to bring Tim.
Yeah.
You guys got to get him to. You got to get him to come next year. So
I just got to get. I have to get a new passport. My passport expired.
Just do it, man. You got a year to do it. Do it.
Yeah, that's the first step.
That would be.
It's like 4 to 6 weeks to get one. You get it well before next November. Oh, I will say this: going through like customs and security is always stressful because you're like afraid of missing your flight, or if they're going to be like, "Oh, do you have any Gretzky rookies that you're going to declare or whatever?" Right? Going through security for me is just more of a hassle, but I put up with it. What's funny, I mean, we all have to put up with it, but like, what's funny is like at like O'Hare Airport in Chicago, it's like you gotta take off your belt, you gotta take off your boot or your shoes, and like in Toronto, I asked them like, "Do I have to take off my shoes or belt?" They're like, "No," and and that was fine. But my backpack got flagged. And it's like, "Oh, I can't get to it. It's behind the glass because I got to look at my backpack." And so I'm like thinking, what the heck set him off? So the guy like picks up my backpack, unzips it, and I just say, what are you looking for? And he's like, aerosol can. And I'm like, oh, that's my shaving cream. And he finds it. I'm like, yeah, you could throw it out. He's like, no, it's fine. He puts it back in, zips it up neatly, hands it to me, says, you're good to go. And I'm like, okay, well, that's funny that like the shaving cream wasn't a problem getting into Canada, but it was a problem getting out of Canada. Now, the previous year, my carry-on bag was a duffel bag, like a gym bag. And I made the mistake of bringing a bunch of cards for trade night. I had like some good cards and one touches, and that bag had to be searched when it was going through security. And the guy's like, what do you have in this bag? I'm like, trading cards. And I'm like, yeah, here. I'm like, let me help. Like I'm telling him, like, yeah, lift that out. Then you have to take off the rubber band because I was using 2-column shoe boxes that I had rubber banded shut. So I just didn't want him to like grab it and like tear it open. And Canadian customs is nice. So I'm like, oh yeah, here, lift it out. And he looks and he's just like, yeah, okay, trading cards. And I go, what flagged that? And he said, it was a lot of plastic. And he said, but it was plastic wrapped around organic material, meaning the cardboard was organic material and then the plastic was artificial material. And I'm like thinking, is that how bombs are made? Like you heard of like plastic or plastic explosives. But what it wasn't just a bunch of plastic. It was the plastic, but then the intermixing of cardboard with plastic. And it was funny because he like showed me he like turned the screen and showed me the x-ray of the bag. And it was funny because it was like an x-ray of like, it almost looked like a, like when you see the x-ray of a spine, but it was like top loaders and one touches.
All I'm picturing is like Sal on one of those like TSA airport TV shows where the customs officials stop people and yeah. But no, they look through the scanner and it's happened with me, not in Canada, but just in general. And then they'll flag it. And then in the end, it's like, oh yeah, through the scanner, it looks like something else. Then in person, it's like, oh, this is nothing. But yeah, you're always worried about declaring stuff because like Sal said, there's been stories of people who had Gretzky rookies and they have to pay like a huge surcharge on it because they know what that is. The other cards, they don't know what that is, but they know what a Gretzky rookie is. It's like, and then they'll charge you a tariff or a fee. And then you end up paying like almost like a tax to get out of the country. And that's every American's fear going to the expo, I think, and coming back.
So anything you buy is subject to a tax coming back to the United States?
Well, potentially, but
it has to be over a certain dollar amount.
Up to $800, I think it is. But
yeah, you're allowed to buy things. But it was funny because the guy said to me on the way out, he asked me, he's like, did you bring more than $10,000 cash? And I started laughing and I said, maybe when I'm rich one day. And he's like, yeah, all right, you're good to go. That was it.
Yeah, so they'll ask it in two different ways. They'll ask, did you buy anything while you were here? And then you have to kind of tell them something. Because otherwise it's weird that like really you came here for 4 days and bought nothing. But if they say you have anything to declare, then I usually say nothing. Because then I'm like, well, I didn't buy anything over $800.
Yeah, that's what they say. Any goods that you purchased over $800.
Right. So when they asked me anything to declare, I said no. He goes, thank you. And an interesting thing is when you do customs in Canada to go to the US, you're essentially doing American customs because as soon as you exit the customs area, there's like a huge American flags like along the wall. When you I landed in New York, they don't check your bag. You don't go through passport check. They did that already on the Canadian side.
Right.
It's not like when you land from Europe or Brazil or whatever, then you got to go to the customs in the US and ask you a million questions. Where'd you go? Did you have a good time? They kind of do that in Canada because Canada and the US have a good relationship. So it is easier to do it once. When I went to the airport, because it was still early, it was dead and it was great. I was able to eat and relax and not stress out because that's always stressful. Like, am I going to make the flight? And then inevitably there's always a minor delay on the plane anyway. And then you're like, I could have showed up 20 minutes ago and it wouldn't have mattered as opposed to 2 hours ago. But anyway.
Dude, my flight was delayed like was supposed to be a 6:35 flight, and we didn't leave until like, let me think, like 8:00. Yeah, it was like delayed like an hour and a half. It got delayed.
Yeah, mine was an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where'd you end up eating? Did you find food at the airport?
I found food at the airport because I fly Delta. It's the same terminal, so I recognize the area now, and I was like, oh, okay. and there was nobody there, and there was a bar with football on. I just sat there and watched.
Anyways, now we're getting way off topic here.
When I went down to Austin a couple weeks ago, we didn't have to do any of that stuff either. Like when I got to Midway, like the TSA guy, when we got up to the thing where everybody would normally be taking their belts off and everything, the guy's like, for the next 30 minutes, leave your shoes on, leave your belts on, just head through.
Right, because the line's getting too big behind them. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, is this guy for real? He's like, you better get a move on before I change my mind. So
Wow.
we're like, all right. So we go through, and they didn't check us for that. And then at Austin, we didn't have to do it either at the Austin airport. They didn't make us take our shoes off or nothing.
Yeah, we bring this up because I think for a lot of people, there is kind of this fear of like, oh, the expo is in another country. But the truth is, in a lot of ways, Toronto's a lot closer to New York and Chicago than if I flew to Miami or Dallas
Yeah.
or to see a show somewhere else, or when I go to the National sometimes. So either way, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if you're thinking of going to the expo and you're afraid of that part of it, the logistics, don't.
I wasn't worried about that. I was just worried about the whole thing at the border with them, like trying to take all your stuff that you buy.
Yeah, you got to just play it right and be honest. I mean, if you not if you bought a Gretzky rookie and it's worth $2,000, I don't know what you say. I know you say I bought a Gretzky rookie card. I guess you declare that.
I mean, if they say, do you have anything to declare? Can you pull a Michael Scott and just yell, I declare bankruptcy?
No, I want to be Dennis Farina's character from Snatch and be like, yeah, Canada sucks. Although in the movie he says England, and they go, anything to declare? And he goes, yeah, England sucks. But
Yeah. Dennis Farina's lines in movies are very quotable.
yeah, well, that's such a great movie. I will just mention one really cool purchase that I made. Clemente, you don't even know about this purchase, so this is going to be a surprise for all of you. Yeah, this was a Sunday purchase. This was me when I had to kill time for Jerry Desjardins to come out and sign autographs. I'm like, well, I'm waiting with all these people waiting for Max Domi. I might as well walk around. I'm at a card show, for Christ's
You're also
sakes,
you're also looking at dump Canadian money at the end.
Well, yeah, but so I bought something really cool for my collection. Oh yeah, look at that. I bought a Stan Mikita rookie card.
You were eyeing that at one point, I thought, right?
I probably was, yeah. I mean, I wanted this card. I've bid on it on eBay many times. I always get outbid. The nice thing about shows, you don't get outbid. It's either there or it's not there. You either buy it or you don't buy it. You can ask for a better price or you can pay the price that they're asking for. But the thing is that there's not 9 other idiots bidding on it at the same time while you're trying to buy it, which is nice, And so I bought a few things from this dealer and I got it for a good price. And I was very happy because originally I was looking to upgrade the Gretzky rookie that I have. I'm like, well, you know what? Let me see if I could just go up a half a grade. So I was looking for a certain grade that was just a half a grade to a grade better than the one that I had. Not only was it like way more expensive, because I told Clemente, it seems like with Gretzky rookies, every time you go up a half grade, it jumps like $500. But I also have this problem like buying the same card or a card I already have. Like it depends on the card. Like if it's a Jeremy Roenick rookie card, I got like 2,000 of those, right? That's different though. If it's like an expensive card, you go, well, how many of these do I need? Like when I was hoarding Mario Lemieux rookie cards, yeah, you can't have too many Mario Lemieux rookie cards. But then it's like, do I want to spend money on a Mario Lemieux rookie card or do I want to spend money on a card that I don't have 4 of already at home, right? So to me, like when I saw that Makita, I said, I want this card. It's a Blackhawk legend. It's in decent enough shape. The price is something I can afford. The dealer is flexible because I was buying some other things. So it was just nice, and that's the fun part. Like Clemente said, yeah, you can go on eBay or ComC and buy things that way. But doing a show, I mean, you get the show experience and it's like you kind of get to take your time and look around. And sometimes you discover things. Like I found some really weird offbeat stuff that I'll have to talk about at a future podcast. Like I found like one team set. I don't even know what the heck it was. It was like a junior B or C team set. It was weird. It was like they were like black and white, but like tinted purple. They were blank on the back. And I said to the guy, I said, what's the story with this set of cards? It was like $4. And he's like, oh, that guy on the front of the card, he was a huge hockey card collector in the Toronto area, and he was also the coach of like this kids team or this like junior whatever team, and he produced a set of hockey cards for them. I was just like, well, where am I ever going to find this again? It was just so weird and random and offbeat, and it was like $4 or 320 American. So
Right.
I mean, that's why you do these things.
So can I ask a few questions since I wasn't there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, a couple comments. I did see a couple dealers in those walkthrough videos with everything behind plexiglass walls. I don't know if that was like a common theme, but I noticed it in a few places. You know how like DNA or Blowout or any of those guys usually do? They have just endless tables of wax boxes and stuff. Yeah, it was the same thing, but it was all behind plexiglass.
That was one dealer at the far end in the first aisle had it looked like almost like hockey rink, like this, like you got all the
Yeah.
plexi. Yeah, that guy's always setting up at the expo and has a very unique setup where you can't touch it. You'd have to like
Okay.
do like a Chipotle thing and put your hand over and go, can I get this box? Yeah, that I don't know what that's about, but that was not typical.
I was wondering if that was like the return of Plastic Man, because that's kind of the vibe that I was getting from that. Like, you can look at our stuff, but you can't touch. It's just for viewing.
Right.
And I did notice, like, down further from them, there was like a dealer that had all memorabilia, like tons of Leafs jerseys,
Yes.
but their whole front display looked like the dasher boards from the rink.
I think that is the Leafs set up there, the team. I think, right, Sal?
Oh, was it the teams? Okay. They had like
they
the team
sell
store. Okay.
jerseys and some game used, and they have sticks and equipment. I think it's MLSC, I think, sets up there. They do it every year too. So yeah, they were there, and it was cool to look through their stuff.
All right. Questions. How was the Wi-Fi?
It was good, and no one complained. I didn't use it because I had good service.
I had service also, and I heard some people complain, but I didn't hear a lot of complaints. I did hear some people say, I can't check the comps because I can't get connected. So I did overhear that. So it's not perfect.
Yeah, that's my bridge question, because, and it could just be at the time of day that these people took these videos, but if you go back to like the National, every walkthrough video, everyone is on their phone. Every table, everyone is on their phone looking at stuff. And one thing that I noticed, there wasn't as much of that in most of the walkthrough videos that are out there. It's people actually engaging with others,
yes,
and looking at stuff and not constantly looking on their phones. So that's why I wondered, did people just give up and they just put their phones away, or what? Or maybe in Canada, people aren't so concerned about comps. Or am I crazy?
I think that's true, because there wasn't that whole brigade of the hobby bros with the cases running around looking to make deals. I saw one bro case in 4 days. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
I saw a few, but I wasn't overwhelmed with them. But there were pro cases.
And that was another question. I noticed there weren't a lot of those. Did you get the same impression?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it seemed like more casual collectors or collectors, but not a lot of like wheelers and dealers, buyers and
Which
sellers.
tells me that there isn't the hockey version of the basketball and football, maybe baseball flippers, because you would think in Canada.
Well, hold on. Trade night last year.
Okay, so yes. So the caveat being, we didn't go to trade night this year. So maybe all those people were there and we missed all of it.
That answers my next question.
We didn't go. So
okay.
That's true.
No, we didn't go. It was like $5, and they didn't call it trade night. They called it the Mint Inc. That's the name of the company that was promoting it. The Mint Inc. After Party. And it had a live DJ. And I'm just thinking, ugh. I mean, I don't care about the live DJ. Just the fact that they're calling it an after party, which is I think what they called it last year. It just wasn't good.
I saw the sign for the trade night, and I saw all the sponsors, and I thought, that's right up you guys' alley. So I'm sure you're going to be there with bells on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just figured I'd throw it out there and ask the question.
No, it's a good question.
Okay, comparing to the National, how was the HVAC system in that place?
The weather was nice outside, so it was fine. There were some areas I noticed it was a little chillier, and then there were areas where it was just normal, but I didn't feel hot in there at all.
Oh, yeah. No, the temperature was good, but you gotta tell them about the giant dust cloud.
I don't even know if this is like not true anymore, that I dream this, but at one point
Dust
on
cloud like a bunch of pig pens all standing around.
No,
if on Friday we walked towards the autograph pavilion, and it looked almost like someone had left the door open somewhere, and all of a sudden it looked like in the air there was this like weird like something you would see in Oklahoma like right before a tornado or something, like weird dust in the air and this weird coloring in the room. I said, Sal, doesn't it look weird in here? Didn't smell like anything. It just looked weird. Like we were on Mars.
it looked cloudy, but like beige, not gray.
Beige, yeah,
It
beige,
was like a beige
reddish.
cloud, and I did smell it a little bit.
It was weird, and then it went away after like 2 hours, never to be seen again.
But yeah, that dust cloud was weird. I think it rolled in from the outside because they left that back door open.
That's that drug that they enter into the atmosphere that makes people want to buy stuff.
It was working then. People were buying. Yeah.
Yeah. Same reason why like most casinos have red and purple colored carpets. You know, it's that whole psychological color thing.
Mm.
This is you breathe this in and it makes you want to spend money.
There were red carpets too, and there was a dealer. There was like a blackjack table at one of the.
Yeah, which we thought of you.
Oh, because there's not enough gambling in the
Yeah,
hobby.
I said, Tim
add
was
more.
here. I said that
Yeah.
blackjack table it was weird. I had no idea what they were promoting, but it was clearly like, hey, the hobby's a whole gamble, right? So it was fitting.
Next question. Keep them coming.
I did notice that Upper Deck had a breakers lounge. Did you guys happen to wander over there at all?
Yeah,
No.
I didn't notice the breakers part. We did go to Upper Deck the first day and we chatted a bit, but we didn't really hang there that much.
They had like tables and chairs. It didn't
They
really
always
feel
do.
like
They
a
always
lounge.
do. Yeah, I don't know what that was, but I think people go there to open their open products because they were getting redemption packs. But I don't know anything.
Okay.
It was pretty quiet on that end. No, I don't.
I didn't know what it was all about. It looked like it looked like the redemption tape was in front, and you had to go through them to get into it. So I didn't know if they had it set up to where you go in and they give you cameras or whatever, and I didn't know if that's what it was or what.
I'll take credit for that idea of Upper Deck doing the Breakers Lounge because I remember maybe at the 2015 National, they would say, "Oh, open a case of this product and get whatever, or open a box of this or a case of this." And I remember standing next to some guy at the counter opening a full case of SP Authentic. And it was so unfun. He was literally opening the pack, putting all the base cards in one stack, the special cards in another stack. Next one. And he was ripping a whole case. And I emailed, this was at the time, it was Chris Carlin. I mean, this wasn't like a top secret conversation. But I said to him, I said, that's no fun. People are spending hundreds of dollars on products and then they have to open it before they could get the thing that you give them. It's like if you have a meal, you want to sit and enjoy it, especially if you like pay a lot for it. Like you don't want to just starve it in like 5 minutes. And that's what this felt like. Like people were buying expensive boxes and then they had to open it all right away. And then they get the cards, the redemption cards. And I said, you should give them a place to sit down where they can relax and they can enjoy opening their product. And for one reason or another, like, no, we thought of that, but blah blah blah, whatever. But now it's like part of the culture. Let's give them a couch and a coffee table and a box fan to keep them cool. Well, that blow away the wrappers, but I don't know. Anyway.
So I know you caught some of the stuff on the main stage that you weren't participating in, but did you go to any of the other little vignette areas? Like eBay, I know had bunch of different things every day, like interview things, and I think they were calling them fireside chats or something like that. Did you see any of those?
We saw it, but we did not go to them, and they were doing breaks and talks, and eBay had a pretty big booth, I will say, probably second biggest Upper Deck. But no, we didn't do any of that because it was not something we cared about. But no, we noticed it. And it's funny that you knew that from a distance, which means that it got plenty of promotion on social.
Oh, Yeah, especially because of the people that were involved.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So,
I know who you mean. So yeah. So
yes.
no. Yeah. So no, for sure. But no, we were not really hanging there.
Okay. What would you say? I guess percentage is probably not the best thing to go with, but comparing this to a national, for those that have never been to either and don't really know, the national has a good fair amount of dealers that deals just with memorabilia.
Mm,
How about this show?
Like percentage, would you
yeah.
say 10%, 15%?
Yeah.
There were dealers who had like programs, like hockey programs or Sports Illustrated, even some graded Sports Illustrateds.
Or maybe autographed. They had autographed photos or autographed jerseys only, pucks, but not. But I would say that's about right. 10 to 15%.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, like 10% or so. Yeah, like either like just non-card stuff. So like either photos, pucks, jerseys, either game worn or autograph. So I'd say about that.
You guys covered the whole show floor over all the days, right? Probably
Yeah.
multiple times.
Multiple times.
Okay.
Eventually, yeah.
If if you were to just ballpark it, you probably weren't paying attention, but if you think back in your head and you ballparked it, how many Gretzky rookie cards did you see over the weekend?
Oh, a lot. A lot.
I didn't see the guy that you mentioned that had the whole bunch
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
It was the same booth I was talking about, the guy with all the sheets. He
Yes.
had a whole case. There was one whole case of Gretzky rookies. There was one whole case of Lemieux rookies.
He's like the premier Gretzky seller in Canada. Yeah. So he alone had hundreds, maybe
Yeah.
100, 200,
Yep.
maybe.
I might have seen a case with like 7 or 8 Gretzky rookies. Maybe that was his or one of his cases, but quite a few. I mean, if you count Tops and O-Pee-Chee, I mean, I saw over 20.
Yeah. Easily.
Like, and that's not counting that guy with like tons of it. This is just like in the wild. Like this person had 2, this person had 1, this person had 3, this
Yeah.
person had 4. And I was actually keeping track because I was looking to buy an upgrade of my O-Pee-Chee. But
You know what's interesting is that in the past I've noticed one player dominate the show. So like if it like in the spring when I went, it was McDavid. Like everyone had McDavid, different variations of his rookie card or patches or whatever. And then I remember last fall it was Crosby. I think it's because of Bedard. And this year I didn't notice a trend like that. If it was all over the place, like it wasn't Ovechkin or it wasn't Gretzky, it wasn't Bedard even. I mean, I think I saw more Gretzky rookies than Bedard's.
yeah, probably. I mean, if you're just talking about the young gun,
Yeah,
yeah.
the young gun. And so I don't know. There was no one player that or two that was totally dominant. And I don't know why that is. Maybe because there's so many different dealers and so much variety. And I just don't know what the hottest hockey card of the moment is. Clearly not Bedard. I mean, yeah, it's everyone had the young gun. The people that had the young gun, some graded, some not graded, but it wasn't like everywhere. And it wasn't cheap either. It was most of the people were asking 500 Canadian for it, which seemed overpriced to us. Maybe some people had it 450, right? But it seemed high.
Yeah, 450 I think is the lowest I
These are
saw.
the raw ones we saw, and so that was interesting. But that was the one thing I noticed that in the past seemed different. Like I didn't see one McDavid Young Gun, not one, which is surprising.
I saw a couple. I saw a raw one that somebody wanted 900 for, and I saw I want to say it was a BGS 9.5 and I think they wanted 2200 for it.
Okay.
Probably saw a couple other ones, but that's what I just remember asking.
Yeah, I saw no Ovechkin either.
I saw one Ovechkin young gun. It was graded, and I want to say they wanted like 3200 for it.
Well, and the reason for the question is we go to these shows in the US and we go to the bigger shows, whether it's this Clemente, you've been to the Hofstra show, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we go to the sports card extravaganza. We should call it something else. I'm sick of spectacular. That word's overused. We should call it something else. Anyway, the national, whatnot, whatever. And the amount of hockey is obviously minimal, but it's like everybody that's got hockey has a Gretzky rookie. And you start counting it in your head and you're just like, Man, there are a lot of these.
Oh yeah.
Then you go to a Canadian show, and a lot doesn't even cover, because like I said, seeing these walkthrough videos, people had more than one person, like multiple people, had cases of these, like display cases filled with them. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. That's just that. I have nothing else to say other than that's just crazy.
Yeah. So, guys, any last thoughts about this? Because I think I've pretty much said everything I had to say about the show. I mean, I could talk about this all night, but I think that's about the gist of it. I mean, I had a great time. I'm glad I went. It was fun to have a friend to pal around with at the show, and also, we helped. Well, I don't know if I really helped you find anything, but you helped me find a lot of cool stuff. But it was also cool, like when we split apart, like when we were both sifting through boxes together. That was cool because we'd find stuff for each other. But
Right.
like sometimes I'm okay when I'm by myself and I kind of get in this, like, not like a zone, like a haze. Like I'm not in the zone. I'm like kind of in the haze where I just kind of drift to another table, and then I might spend like 30 minutes going through boxes. And I kind of like that too. So it was like we had enough time to do all of that, like help each other out, but then you had things to do, I had things to do. I liked that we stayed at a different hotel. We didn't stay at the hotel that the expo recommended. We stayed at one that was closer. It was actually cheaper. We're both from big cities, so we don't mind a little walking. It took us about 20 minutes to walk from the hotel to the Tim Hortons, and then 10 minutes to the expo from the Tim Hortons. And mainly that was because the entrance, like you had to like walk around the building and like enter in the back, like one of the back
It
entrances.
was a whole parking lot. You had to walk the whole parking lot. That's mostly the case, but this year was worse because of the way the entrance was set up on the other end of the hall. I think hall 2, 3, something like that. Anyway,
It's two.
yeah. So, but whatever. The weather was good. It didn't rain until the last day, so that was okay.
Yeah, and even like when we like myself, Clemente, and Sean were walking, and I guess we were like walking parallel to the parking lot. There was like a street, but we just thought it was part of the parking lot. And like this woman like drove by us, and she slowed down, and she's like, "You guys really live on the edge, eh?" And then she sped off.
I said that was the Canadian way of telling you to basically, you know what? If that was in New York, forget it. You would have heard like a lot of F-bombs going at you. But
Yeah, like
but it wasn't
PPF
clear.
bomb.
It wasn't clear by walking in that we were in the middle of the road because it was just a parking lot. It was very strange.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that they can't do anything about. It was built that way. It was built basically to drive in, not walk into. So,
Well, my final thought to all of this, I watched 3 full walkthrough videos and part of another one. And I will say, out of all of them, I looked beginning to end, did not see either of you even remotely close to being in the background of any of these videos. So for a while, until I saw Sal actually on the stage interviewing someone, I was skeptical that you two actually even went. So thought there'd be video evidence of it, but apparently not. So you kept yourselves hidden and you kept yourselves scarce wherever you were.
we were in disguise and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't even stamp passports anymore, so we don't have that way of proving it.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good show. Can't wait. I won't be able to make it to the April one, unfortunately, the Spring Expo, but I'm already planning for next fall, the fall 2025 Expo. So I'm looking forward to that. It's only 364 days away.
The countdown starts now. Yeah.
The countdown starts now. Yeah, I agree. But, of course, I'll have Chicago Sports Spectacular next weekend, and then March Sports Spectacular, and then the National in July. So, yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on anyway, so it's all good. But, yeah, it was an awesome show.
I'm just jealous that you have the home show advantage for 3 straight shows.
Yes, 3 Nationals in Chicago in a row. Suck it, Philly.
What?
Take that, Atlantic City. Go home, Cleveland. Your expo center is too small. I don't know. Trash talking the other cities.
Trash talking the other venues.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. We're going to call it a show. So thank you for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. As always, if you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you got a comment, you can follow us on social media. I'm at Puck Junk. Clemente is at Clemente Lisi. Tim's at The Real DFG. Also, you can subscribe to the newsletter at puckjunk.com/newsletter. You can support this podcast at puckjunk.com/shop. And until next time, like what you like.
For more hockey goodness, follow us on Twitter at PuckJunk.